Hi everyone, this will be a quick lesson on rounding. In this lesson, we will focus on TEKS 4.2a, interpret the value of each place value position as 10 times the position to the right and as 1/10 of the value of the place to its left. 4.2d, round whole numbers to a given place value through the hundred thousands place. And 4.4g, round to the nearest 10, 100, or 1,000, or use compatible numbers to estimate solutions involving whole numbers. All right, so a major part of rounding is knowing where to round to. That is why it is important that we understand place value. If you notice here, we have our ones, our tens, our hundreds, our thousands, our 10,000s, our 100,000s, our millions, and to the right of our period, we have our tenths, our hundreds, and our thousands. As I was writing these numbers, you may have noticed that our numbers were increasing by zeros. Well, when going to the left of the place value chart, all we are doing is multiplying the position we are currently in by 10. And if we are going to the right of the place value chart, we are multiplying the position we are in by 1/10, or 0.1. So if we were to multiply 1 times 10, we would get 10. And if we were to multiply 10 times 10, we would get 100. And if we were to multiply 100 times 10, we would get 8,000. And if we were to multiply 1,000 times 10, we would get 10,000, and so on. Now for our decimals, we're multiplying by 1/10, or 0.1. So if we were to multiply 1 times 0.1, we would get 0.1, or tenths. We would be in our tenths place. Now, if we were to multiply 0.1 times 0.1, we would get our hundredths place, or 0.01. And if we were to multiply 0.01 times 0.1, we would get our thousandths place, or 0.001. So the question is, how do we round numbers? Well, there are a few steps that go into rounding. The first step is we find the place value we are being asked to round to. Once we find that place value, we look at the number to the right. If the number is 5 or more, we change the number up. If the number is 4 or less, we leave it alone. After we change that number, we have to make sure that we add zeros behind it. So, for example, let's take a look at this problem. Round 439 to the nearest 100. The first thing we want to do is put our number in our place value chart. So we have 439. So if it's asking us to round to the nearest 100, we go to our hundredths place. We look at the number to the right. If that number is 5 or more, we change it. If the number is 4 or less, we leave it alone. In this case, the number is less than 5, so we end up with 400. Let's try another problem. This problem says round 183,402 to the nearest 100,000ths place. So the first thing we do is, let's fill this in. So first we want to find what we're being asked to round to. In this case, we're being asked to round to the 100,000ths place. So we go to our 100,000ths place. Then we look at the number to the right. If this number is 5 or more, we change it up. And if it's 4 or less, the number remains the same. In this case, since our number is 8, our 1 will change to a 2, leaving us with 200,000. Now, the last part of our rounding lesson is about compatible numbers. So compatible numbers are numbers that help us use mental math to add, subtract, multiply, or divide numbers to get us close or help us estimate our answer. But we have to remember that compatible numbers do not give us an exact number. So here we have a problem. This problem says Ziggy had 408 dog treats. Myra had 328 dog treats. Rounded to the nearest 100, use compatible numbers to find the difference in the number of dog treats Ziggy and Myra had. For this example, we are being asked to round to the nearest 100, which means we will be subtracting two numbers. So in this case, 408 will become 400 because remember, we're rounding to the nearest 100. And 328 will be rounded to 300. Now, we know that 4 minus 3 is 1. So we can put our 1 down, but then we got to remember to put our zeros as well. So that means 400 minus 300 is going to be 100. If we were to subtract 328 from 408, we would get 80. So 80 is pretty close to 100. So remember, with compatible numbers, we're estimating. We're not going to get an exact number, so we end up with 100. Let's look at one more example. For this example, the problem says, at the pet store, Kevin decides to buy some stuff for his dog. Kevin buys a dog toy for $18, dog treats for $29, and a dog bed for $42. Use compatible numbers to find how much Kevin spent. Since I am using compatible numbers to find my answer, I will not add them up like this. I will be rounding first. For this example, I will be rounding all my numbers to the nearest 10, which means I will have 20, 30, and 40. Now, I know that 2 plus 3 plus 4 gives me 9. And all I have to do is bring down my 0. So I end up with 90, or B.